do think like you're getting kind of decent return for Tybura against a guy that's coming off of a pretty bad knee injury like that. We don't know what his level of springiness, because he's a springy heavyweight. Like he has really good lateral mobility.
What do you hear? What do you say? This is how to fuck up your parlay. I'm Timmy Shoes with Inside Fighting, and I'm joined once again by our editor-in-chief, Jesse Rowe. Jesse, how you doing?
Doing very well, Timmy. I'm happy to be here with you as we head out to the O2 Arena in London to go to talk a little bit about the one man to take down Jon Jones. Let's do it.
Yeah. Tybura, right? The Polish
Tybura.
Yeah, you know, the UFC always puts on a great card for the London crowd. It is the return of Tom Aspinall. He's taking on Marcin Tybura. I don't know if you saw the clips. Did you know Tom Aspinall speaks Polish for some reason?
Incredible, and like really good Polish. It was
yeah. I remember reading that he likes the vacation there, but I've never heard of
that in Polish.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty funny. He's returning to the O2 Arena. That's actually where he blew out his knee almost exactly a year ago. It's kind of crazy. So this weekend, it's on July 22nd. On July 23rd of last year, fought Blades, blew out his knee. He's been out ever since. But one of the most promising heavyweights. We're glad he's back. We've also got Molly Meatball on the card. You know, she's very popular with the English crowd. And then we've got Nathaniel Wood. He's a very nice English prospect in that featherweight division. He's taken on the vet Andre Fili. And one of the most intriguing fights for me, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I love this fight. Paul Craig is making his middleweight debut against Andre Muniz. That is going to be a grappling clinic. And also, I'm really curious to see if Paul Craig can transform himself dropping down a division, because he's a pretty big guy. That is a pretty big weight cut. Paul Craig is a plus 180, and Andre Muniz is a minus 210. Very interested what you make his fight.
I love the odds for Paul Craig. I think that's those are some, because, you know, he is, like you mentioned, he is a guy that has beaten some very quality UFC fighters. And
Absolutely.
So, you know, that would suggest that there's some method to his technique. And obviously, like you mentioned, he's a grappler. But my thing is, you know, whenever two grapplers match up, it always ends up kind of being a fight on the feet, just because both guys are sort of like so good at, you know, reading who's going to do the takedown. So it generally stays on the feet. I love the
thing
odds
about this one.
Go ahead.
Because Paul Craig, he's the guy who, he looks like he hits like a truck, but he's got no hands. He's the guy who's constantly pulling guard.
Yeah.
I believe in his decision loss against Uzdemir, he pulled guard like 800 times that fight. So I really think this one's going to go to the ground at some point.
I think I agree. I think you're right. I do love the odds for Paul Craig, but I just didn't like the way he looked against Johnny Walker. I thought that he looked that was not a good performance. I would assume that he's gone back in the lab. He's been working hard, and that he thinks that this weight cut is that this dropping in weight is going to be key for his career. I think that's a division where he could make some noise with his specific skill set, just because of, you know, and his size. I think that he could give a lot of problems to some of the top middleweights. That being said, I'm gonna take Muniz in this fight. I didn't love the way that I saw what I saw from Craig, and I just think Muniz is kind of in just a better state in his career right now. I like in this fight, and I think that the odds are good enough that you can put a little bit of money down on it, just because obviously you're not getting a ton of return, but it's not so bad that you're not getting enough value. You're still getting decent value.
Either way, whoever you pick, I would suggest going into the prop bets, looking at by submission.
Yeah.
And those are probably going to be where some money is at.
Or looking at like punches thrown on the feet, betting the under on like punches thrown on the feet or something like that. There are the prop bets that you can do. That would be an interesting one too.
So go for the under on the number of punches thrown.
Yeah.
I'm going with Paul Craig.
Yeah.
just because I like the dude. I don't know. I've always liked the dude. There's something about these specialists. You know why I like him is because he comes out in the Scottish face paint, like Braveheart, and he gets in your face and he means mugs the guy. He's like towering over him, and then when the fight starts, he's jumping guard, he's pulling guard. It's just such a funny parallel to me.
It is a contrast. It is a
Yeah.
contrast. Funny anecdote. You know who inspired Paul Craig to use the Braveheart face paint?
Mel Gibson.
It's the most random name you could think of. It's Mike Perry. Inspired
What?
Paul Craig to do the Braveheart face paint. He told the story on another podcast. Paul Craig told the story, and he was like, yeah, I was hanging out with Mike Perry, and Mike Perry was like, dude, you're Scottish? Bro, you should just come out and fight in the fucking face paint, and you should be like, you should say, you will not take my freedom, and do Mike Perry doing the whole spiel for him. And so, yeah, that's why Paul Craig wears face paint, is because of Mike Perry.
That's hilarious. I've got to check out that podcast. God bless Mike Perry. That man is a national treasure. He's a wealth of funnies.
I do like the Paul Craig pick. I think you're getting great odds. If you think he's going to make a good debut at middleweight, those are incredible odds. I would take him all day.
Now, moving right along, we got Nathaniel Wood. He's taking on Andre Fili. Wood is a -205. Fili is a +175. At one point, Wood was sort of touted as one of the guys who could be one of the British champions down the line. He has had not a great run of it. I think he's 3-2 in his last 5. He lost to John Dodson and he lost to Casey Kenny, but he also is coming off a win against Charles Jourdain and Charles Rosa. So this is an interesting fight. Andre Fili is obviously it's a good test for him because he's a veteran. But what do you make of this fight? -205 +175.
What are the odds?
Wood is the favorite, -205, and Fili is the +175 underdog.
Well, so before I even thought of the odds, I thought that picking Wood was the better bet. Just being he's 29, he's Fili is 33. Like you said, they used to call Wood the prospect. That's his nickname, is the prospect, and so he's still like. There is a lot of hype still in some capacity. There's still people that believe that he could potentially make some noise in featherweight. I don't love the odds, but my first thought was to take Wood. I'm going to stick with Wood. But it's I do think that there's some high value underdog potential for Fili, just because Wood, like you said, he is 3-2 in his last 5. But being that it's in UK, he's a hometown kid. I think that he'll have enough juice behind him that he'll put in a good performance. He'll be ready for this fight. He'll be fully prepared.
I like the breakdown. I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood as well. I think he's going to get this done. But moving right along, Molly Meatball McCann. She is a 210 favorite against Julija I'm going to butcher this. Stoliarenko. That was wrong. She's a +180 favorite. Underdog, I should say. Now, this one is very interesting. Molly Meatball is obviously a huge fan favorite, especially there in London. The people love her. She's got this really great relationship with Paddy Pimblett. They're like a comic duo. But it's worth mentioning, Molly has hands and no grappling.
Yeah, that's my first thought here.
Stoliarenko is a grappler through and through. So, Jesse, what do you make of this fight?
I don't love it. I think that the odds are, this is a slam dunk. Take the value you're getting on Stoliarenko. I know that this is a hometown fight for Molly Meatball, but she just got submitted the fuck up by Erin Blanchfield the last time they fought. Yeah. And like there was no defense for it from Meatball Molly, none. And obviously she's a great boxer. She's got them hands, like she can do it. But if this fight goes to the ground, I mean, you're leaving money on the table, not betting on Stoliarenko. I'm tempted to bet the house on Stoliarenko in this fight. I know it's a hometown fight, but I love those odds. Love them. Yeah,
Stoliarenko is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. She's actually won tournaments in the black belt divisions for the women's category, the IBJJF Master European Champion for black belt woman. So she's a submission artist. She's got really good grappling, and I think that's why you're dead on. Plus 180, that's a lot of value
Yep.
when she's fighting someone who doesn't really have a lot of grappling defense.
I wonder if those odds are going to shift the closer we get to fight week, when people start to learn a little bit more. When the public starts to learn a little bit more about a fighter, the odds kind of tend to shift a little bit because they don't do their research until like a few days of. I would make that bet like the second you see this video, because the odds could start getting closer and closer, and you might even see it being even odds by the time of fight day. So I think Stoliarenko is a steal right now, an absolute steal. Yeah,
you're definitely right. And I'm looking for the odds right now. The fight props, winning method. There we go. I want to just see. Stoliarenko by submission is a plus 350.
It's good.
That is good.
But yeah, I agree. By submission, plus 300, plus 350.
Plus 350.
Winning method and winning outright. I think you're just do both. Parlay those two. That might be I don't know if you can parlay winning method and
you can't.
Okay. So yeah, then take winning method. But if you don't want to take that risk, then just take the win outright, because I do think Meatball Molly will be. She's also a little long in the tooth. I think that this could be one of her, final few fights coming up. So
yeah, I like her. She's got a great personality, but she's 33. If she hasn't really been able to fill the gaps in her game. Let's say it that way. She hasn't filled the gaps in her game, specifically that submission game. So
yeah,
moving right along the main event, Tom Aspinall and his return from tearing his MCL and partially damaging his ACL. He is a heavy favorite. He's actually the heaviest favorite we've talked about. He is a minus 450 against Marcin Tybura, who is a plus 340. This is really interesting. Tom Aspinall has always been considered one of the most talented guys at heavyweight. And he was on an up-and-coming trajectory, but he blew out his knee against Blades. And there might be an alternative timeline where Tom Aspinall beats Blades, and maybe he's in the position that
Cyril Gahn was in when John Jones came back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So obviously didn't work out that way.
I think he's going to have to fight Gahn before that happens. That's my guess. I think that they're going to have to, because Gahn, that's an awesome fight, by the way. Gahn versus versus Aspinall. I'll pay to see that. That would be dope.
I wonder if Aspinall wins this, if they put him in a fight with Pavlovich while John is fighting Miocic.
Oof, I don't know. I'm glad he gets one fight with his new reconstructed knee before that happens.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I agree. Alternate timeline. What are the odds?
450 for Aspinall, minus 450, and Tybura's underdog, plus 340.
So I think the odds make sense. I think Aspinall's a better fighter, but I mean, I do think like you're getting kind of decent return for Tybura against a guy that's coming off of a pretty bad knee injury like that. We don't know what his level of springiness, because he's a springy heavyweight. Like he has really good lateral mobility for as a heavyweight. So I do wonder how that knee injury is going to affect that. He says that his knee is feeling fantastic. Everything I've seen, he looks good, but we won't know until he's in there. That being said, I still think I'll take Aspinall, but I'm not going to put a ton of money down on it. I still think he's going to win, but the odds aren't great. I would parlay his winning method by knockout more than I would parlay, or by TKO more than I would bet on him outright.
Yeah, I agree. I think to get that value, you gotta go with him by KO. He's got a good submission game too, so he's a very well-rounded heavyweight, which you don't always see. I guess it's becoming more popular, but he's a minus 165 by knockout. So they are sort of expecting him to get the knockout, but that's still better than minus 450.
Right.
So I actually cooked up a little parlay. We're both going with Tom Aspinall, right?
Yes.
You picked Tom. I picked Tom. I think he's going to get it done. Now, I got a nice little 4-leg parlay here. Let me just see. I'm going Paul Craig on the money line, Nathaniel Wood on the money line, Stoliarenko by submission, Tom Aspinall by KO. If you put $10 down, you can win 300. What do you think of that parlay?
Well, considering I didn't pick Paul Craig, I'm worried he might be a parlay buster. I don't hate it. Yeah, I'd put $10 down on that. Sure, why not? Sure, why not? I worry about just Paul Craig just because of the things I said. I wonder about the weight cut and everything and how it's going to play out for him. But if you're a believer in it, go for it.
But this was How to Fuck Up Your Parlay. I'm Timmy Shoots with Inside Fighting. I was joined by Jesse Rowe, our editor-in-chief. We're at InsideFighting.com. We're on the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You know where to find us. Jesse, send us off.
Goodbye.
I like it.
Yeah.
Peace.